It's October 23rd, 2005. The Chicago White Sox are hosting Game 2 of the World Series against the Houston Astros. Tied 6-6 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Leadoff hitter Scott Podsednik is at the plate, and while Podsednik went to the All-Star game earlier this season, Sox manager Ozzie Guillen is definitely not anticipating a walk-off home run finish to this particular ballgame. The Sox lead 1-0 in the series, but a potential 2-0 series edge, or the game potentially going into extra innings, is just a taste of the drama both teams have experienced lately. This is just the second World Series game in Astros franchise history, and for the White Sox, last night's Game 1 win was the ball club's first World Series victory since Game 5 of the 1959 Fall Classic. Houston, meanwhile, is still looking for its first ever World Series win. Therefore, a lot is riding on this 2-1 pitch, so let's rewind. Scott Podsednik, sometimes known simply as Scotty Pods by fans of the Southsiders, is starting to become a fan favorite. The White Sox had a formidable lineup of Carlos Lee, Bagley Ordonez, Paul Konerko, and Frank Thomas going into the 2005 offseason, but after finishing in second place to those pesky Minnesota Twins in 3 consecutive seasons, General Manager Ken Williams pulled off one of the biggest blockbuster trades in Chi Sox history by dumping Lee's contract to the Milwaukee Brewers and acquiring the speedster in Podsednik. Just like that, Williams dumped a 30-homer, 100 RBI guy for the relatively unknown commodity in Podsednik. The theory was Podsednik would help bring a new dimension of speed and small ball mentality to the Sox. Williams wanted to change the direction of the franchise with a speedy and up-and-coming ball player who could frustrate opposing pitching staffs on the base pass, similar to what the Twins were doing with Lou Ford, Torrey Hunter, Luis Rivas, and Christian Guzman. And Williams' bold trade turned out to be a great one. The first half of the season saw Podsednik steal 4 bases in a game on 2 different occasions, with Scotty Pods making the All-Star team as the final vote candidate. His batting average hovered around 300, and he stole 59 bases for the Sox. The trade was still good for Milwaukee, as Lee finished with a career-high 32 home runs and 114 RBI. But the Brewers missed the playoffs in 2005, while the Palehosers won just their 4th division title since playoff reformatting went into effect during the late 60s. Williams actually changed the entire White Sox lineup. Frank Thomas was out most of the 2005 regular season and postseason due to a bone fracture. Ordonez signed with the Tigers during the 05 offseason. Jermaine Dye became the everyday right fielder, and Williams brought in 30-year-old Japanese rookie Tadahito Iguchi become the everyday second baseman and 2-hole hitter. Iguchi became a key cog in the Sox lineup, with his 3-run homer in Game 2 of the ALDS against the Boston Red Sox being the climax of a very impressive 3-game sweep at the hands of the defending champions. Everything was different about this White Sox team. The mantra became win or die trying, as White Sox small ball, or Aussie ball, as was sometimes referred to in the Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune, became the team's identity. Instead of Lee cranking dingers to left field, Podsednik would steal bases, Iguchi would get him over, and Jermaine Dye or Paul Konerko would drive him in with the crucial RBI hit. However, the average baseball fan wanted to call it. The Sox overcame the odds and stopped the Twins from winning a 4th straight AL Central crown. But the White Sox actually had to go toe-for-toe, tick-for-tack with the Cleveland Guardians to see who would represent the AL Central in the playoffs. It was a crazy year for the Sox. By August 1st, the Palehosers were up 15 games on the Cleveland Guardians. Incredibly, that lead became a meager 1.5 games as the Guardians went 19-8 during the month of August. A turning point for the White Sox came on September 20th against Cleveland. Joe Creedy's walk-off home run in the bottom of the 10th increased the White Sox division lead to 3.5 games. It was a 2-win swing, and it gave the White Sox enough breathing room for them to hold for the division crown. Even more interesting, Cleveland missed out on the postseason entirely after its amazing run. The Guardians/Indians lost 6 of their last 7 games, allowing the Red Sox to sneak in as the wild card representative. It was a tough pill to swallow for Indians fans, as this team went from a 48-47 record to almost upending the Sox for the division pennant. Instead, the Indians missed out on the playoffs for yet another year, their 4th straight season without a playoff appearance. The White Sox cruised past the aforementioned Red Sox, but the ALCS was a slightly different story. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim won Game 1 in Chicago, with Podsednik and catcher A.J. Pierzynski getting caught on stolen base attempts. Game 2 was a game to remember, as it was just a 1-1 tie with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. With 2 strikes on him, Pierzynski swung at a splitter out of the strike zone. The White Sox starting catcher thought the ball hit the dirt, and without instant replay in effect, home plate umpire Doug Eddings awarded first base to Pierzynski via the drop third strike. It honestly looked like a bad call by Eddings on replay, as Angel catcher Josh Paul clearly seemed to have caught the ball. It was new life for the Sox, and they wouldn't relinquish the opportunity. Pablo Ozuna pinch ran for Brzezinski. Greedy had a walk-off double, and the Sox dominated the Angels in Anaheim by each of their three starting pitchers, John Garland, Freddie Garcia, and Jose Contreras, all throwing complete games. The White Sox won all three games in Anaheim to enter the Fall Classic in more than 4 decades. It all started with a controversial drop-third strike allowance by Eddings. If not for the drop-third strike, the Angels could have won in extra innings and been up 2 games to nothing. Oh, the days of no instant replay. Some nicknamed the White Sox the curse of the Black Sox, as the Sox have only played in 1 World Series since the infamous Black Sox gambling scandal. That is, until 2005 began. And to put salt on an open wound, Chicago's defeats in the 1983 and 1993 ALCS were to the eventual World Series winners in the Baltimore Orioles and Toronto Blue Jays. But times might be changing as the White Sox eliminated their curse of the Bambino by winning the Fall Classic just last season. The White Sox are now up 1 game to nothing with a golden chance to win its first World Series since 1917. In fact, the Sox have not won more than 2 World Series games since 1919. But the Astros are also a Cinderella story. Since joining Major League Baseball as the Houston Colt 45s, the Astros entered the 2005 season without a single World Series appearance. Prior to 2005, the Astros were basically major choke artists come October. In 1980, the Philadelphia Phillies won the Fall Classic, but it could have easily been Houston. Back then, the NLCS was only best of 5, and Houston led 5-2 of Game 5, entering the top of the 5th at the old Astrodome. Philly scored 5 runs at the top of the 7th. The Astros would tie the score at 7 with a late 2-out rally, but Gary Maddox's go-ahead RBI double in the top of the 10th became the game winner, as Houston couldn't mount another comeback after going down 1-2-3 in the bottom half of the inning. It was heartbreaking for the Stros as they had Nolan Ryan on the mound in this do-or-die Game 5, but Ryan gave up 6 earned runs through his 7 innings of work. Philadelphia went on to win the 1980 World Series, a team which Houston had on the ropes during the National League Championship Series. Because of the 1981 player strike, there was a division series in the postseason. Houston won the second half of the year, so they got to face off against Los Angeles. The Astros won the first 2 games of the NLDS, but the 2-3 format allowed LA to host all 3 elimination games, and the Dodgers won a perfect 3-for-3 at Dodger Stadium. The Astros went ice cold to plate as the Stros scored a mere 2 runs during all 3 games. And if you can believe it, the Dodgers went on to win the 1981 World Series. The 1986 NLCS was just as bad, if not more gut-wrenching for the Astros faithful. Mike Scott, the ace of the Astros pitching staff, was the NLCS MVP despite his team's losing effort. Dave Smith was anything but automatic as the Astros closer. Up by a run during Game 3 at Shea Stadium, he gave up a 2-run digger to Lenny Dykstra, propelling the match to a thrilling 6-5 walk-off victory. The Astros trailed 3 games to 2 as the series headed back to the largest city in Texas. Theoretically speaking, Scott was so dominant in the series that Houston just had to win Game 6 to allow Scott to pitch in a winner-go-home Game 7. Bob Knepper was Houston's starter in Game 6, and he pitched 8 scoreless innings, but he showed signs of fatigue during the top of the 9th, and after he gave up 2 runs in the last inning of regulation, manager Hal Lanier decided to give Smith another shot at closer. Smith just flat-out stunk most of the series. He walked the first 2 batters he saw, paving the way for Ray Knight to drive in the game-tying run on a subsequent sacrifice fly. It was a crushing collapse as the Astros were 2 outs away from forcing a Game 7 with Scott on the mound. The same Mike Scott who had an ERA of .5 and walked just 1 batter during his combined starts in Games 1 and 4. The Astros fought hard the rest of the game. After the Mets scored a run on the top of the 14th, Billy Hatcher kept his team's season alive with a game-tying homer off the left field foul pole. But it wasn't meant to be for Houston as the Astros gave up 3 runs in the top of the 16th. The Astros scored twice in the bottom half of the inning, but bullpen arm Jesse Orasco eliminated the extra inning rally by striking out Kevin Boss with a runner on second. After all that hard work, the Astros season ended in an MLB playoff high 16 innings. For the 3rd straight time, the team who defeated the Astros in the playoffs went on to win the World Series as the Mets defeated the Red Sox during the '86 Fall Classic. From 1987 until 2003, the Astros never got any closer to a World Series appearance, and the Astros almost relocated to Virginia as former owner Drayton McClain seriously considered selling the team to William Collins. The Astros played in Houston after Collins couldn't get a stadium in place, and Houston voters responded positively to a stadium referendum to avoid losing the Astros just like they lost the Oilers. The Astros saw a resurgence in the late 90s and early 2000s, but the Atlanta Braves became Houston's kryptonite as the Braves defeated the Astros 3 times during the National League Division Series, 1997, 1999, and 2001. 3 straight division titles from 97 to 99 didn't matter, as the Astros couldn't even win 2 games during the NLDS. They avoided the sweep until 2001, but they couldn't even advance to the NLCS in 1998 with Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson on the roster. The 2004 Astros were a different story. Last season's ball club eradicated a 44-44 start to the year by going 46-26 down the stretch to win the NL wildcard. The Stros had to play against the Braves, but unlike the Larry Dierker-led squads, the Phil Garner-led Astros won the do-or-die Game 5 to advance to their first NLCS since 1986. While the Astros fought hard, losing the NL Central Division to the St. Louis Cardinals did in Houston, as the Cardinals won Game 7 at Busch Stadium. Even more soul-crushing, Houston led 3-2 in the series, but they lost both games in St. Louis, including a demoralizing 6-4 loss in 12 innings during Game 6. The Astros entered the 2005 season with high hopes, and even though Carlos Beltran signed as a free agent with the Mets, Houston still had the killer bees of Craig Biggio, Lance Berkman, and Jeff Bagwell in the heart of its batting order. A 15-30 start to the year worried Astros fans, but after a 22-7 record in July, the Stros were back on track to clinching another wild card berth. The Astros barely hung on to win the wild card, as they had to win on the last day of the season to hold off Charlie Manuel's Phillies. As if the baseball gods love it being Astros versus Braves, the Astros had to once again play the Braves through the 2005 NLDS. And like last season, the Astros began a new tradition of eliminating the Braves in the division series. This time around, it was a 4-game elimination, as Chris Burke had a walk-off solo shot in the bottom of the 18th to send the Astros back to the NLCS against St. Louis. It was the longest game in MLB postseason history. Looking for revenge against the Redbirds, the Astros won games 2 through 4 and almost won the pennant at Minute Maid Park, but Albert Pujols cranked a 3-run bomb from the arm of Brad Lidge, and the Astros had to win their first National League pennant on the road. Some analysts consider that home run to still be on the mind of Lidge going into the World Series.
It would have been nice to get Lidge in the game in Game 6 in St. Louis in the NLCS to get that taste out of his mouth from the Pujols home run.
I don't think that taste is there.
Then again, Lidge was basically unhittable during most of the playoffs. There's no way Podsednik, who didn't hit a homer during the regular season, could hit a dinger against the all-star closer, right? And of all the people to give up a home run to Podsednik, Lidge would definitely be at the bottom of the list, according to gamblers' odds. And for Lidge to even be in the spot is unbelievable. Remember, the Astros were down to their last out in the top of the 9th, but Jose Vizcaino put his name in baseball history by drilling a 2-out, 2-run single to left field to tie the score at 6. Perhaps Bobby Jenks was dead tired after having to get a 4-out save last night. Jenks inevitably blew the saves, but the Sox obtained its fair share of breaks earlier in the game to even be in that spot. The first such break occurred at the bottom of the 2nd inning. This ball should have been caught by Hall of Fame second baseman Biggio, but he somehow dropped the fly ball, allowing Brzezinski to score the go-ahead run. With 2 runners on base in the bottom of the 7th, home plate umpire Jeff Nelson determined that Dan Wheeler's fastball hit the batting glove of Jermaine Dye. Once again, instant replay verified that Nelson made the wrong call, as it sure seemed like the baseball hit the knob of the bat instead of hitting Dye. Garner was practically forced to go to the bullpen, and with the bases now loaded, he called upon Chad Qualls to try and jam the next hitter. Dye's hit by a pitch brought Konerko to the plate, and he capitalized on the first pitch with a 4-run 4-bagger to give Chicago its first lead since the 2nd inning. The breaks are seemingly going Chicago's way, but the Astros have fought hard to be in the position they're in right now. While he performed poorly during the last round, Lidge had a perfect 0 ERA during the 2004 NLCS and 2005 NLDS. He pitched 12 perfect innings during those rounds combined. During the 2004 regular season, he even received votes for the Cy Young Award. He's been very good in 2005, but his wins above replacement mark dropped significantly from 3.8 to now barely above 2. And to reiterate,
and here's a drive deep right field. This is going to go. That's the first home run he has hit this season.
Podsednik's lone homer of the season came during Game 1 of the 2005 ALDS against the Red Sox, a home run that didn't even factor into the game's final result. It was all intents purposes a meaningless homer. But Scotty Pods crushed a career-high 12 dingers last season for the Brew Crew, so the power is somewhat there for Podsednik. Will Lidge's mind be on straight, or will he be second-guessing himself after what happened to him in Houston against Pujols? Meaning, could Lidge accidentally leave a juicy fastball right in Podsednik's wheelhouse? Can Podsednik do what Konerko did 2 innings ago? Or will he try to do what he normally does and get a hit within the constraints of the ballpark? Podsednik is ahead in the count 2-1 with 2005 All-Star closer Lidge on the mound. Welcome to a moment in history.
The 2-1. A swing and a high fly ball. Deep right center field. This is way back in the gap, and it's a gunner! A White Sox winner! A winner on a Podsednik home run! And the White Sox go up 2-0 in the 2005 World Series!
The White Sox went on to win games 3 and 4 and record its first ever World Series sweep and its first World Series title since 2007. Houston would not win a World Series game and subsequent title until 2017. Thanks for watching this Rewinder video. Make sure to subscribe below to never miss the action of Sports Broadcast Solutions.